What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Doing a little YouTube live stream. I've never done this before. I've always done it on Instagram. But we have a lot of really good engagement, a lot of new subscribers here on YouTube. So I figured this would be a really good way to connect. So I guess we'll wait a little bit for everyone to roll in. I've got some questions. I put it out on YouTube's got the new posts that you can put up. So I put out a couple questions that said not questions. I put up a couple posts that said leave your questions here. So I'm going to read through those. We'll go through the questions and I'll give my best answer and try and keep this one reasonably short. All my other live streams have gone like a couple hours. I don't know what the limit is on Instagram. It limits you, I think, at like 2 hours. It just ends your live stream. And I just get lost in time and space and all eternities, and I don't know who I am for those 2 hours. And it goes by so fast, I don't even realize it. But all right, so let's hit some of these questions. If you got questions here, you can put them in the comments. Let's see here. Dan Farizan. Hi, do you ship to Singapore? Yeah, we do. We sure do. We ship all over the world. We have yet to encounter somewhere where we weren't able to ship. So hit our site and check it out. Hi, NF Tano Generations. Welcome. Glad you guys are here. Okay, let's get to the first question. Much appreciation for true craftsmanship. Such a lovely family too. Big cheers from over the pond. Thank you so much. That's by ADY here on YouTube. Thank you. No question there, but I really appreciate the comment. That's awesome. Would you use full grain buffalo leather? I would buy one for sure. This is from Dreadnought V Gaming. We got a full grain buffalo fan. I've never used buffalo leather before. It's usually a little bit softer tempered than I normally prefer, but I also love trying new things, and I've kind of been looking at a few different soft tempered hides to try out anyway. So yeah, maybe we'll try it out. I'm assuming you're talking about the bags. I don't think we would use the softer tempered leather on our wallets. I really like the firm temper. It keeps them really stiff, and they soften over time, but it allows them to last longer. Thomas Roberts, what's up? Hey, what products are you looking to produce in the future? I really like your stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny you asked, actually. I've been putting a lot of thought into this, and I know a lot of you have heard me say this before, but just because of so many different leather craftsmen and makers out there in the world these days, attempting to build a business out of it, which is great. I love seeing it. But it's becoming really hard to stand out and to make unique things. You know, you can only make wallets and laptop bags so differently. Or I guess what I'm trying to say is you can only be so innovative in that area. So one area that I'm really looking forward to diving into is more of the photography world centered products. So camera bags, camera straps, things like that. I've actually been working on a camera strap, a couple different camera straps. Put these together yesterday. They're a little bit more heavier duty, a little bit more, they feel a little bit more like tack. They're doubled up, 2, 3 to 4 ounce pieces of leather stitched together. So got some high density nylon rope on the end to hold onto the camera. And I like these a lot because they will sit into any of the camera mounts. So you don't have to have like the D-ring or whatever. So that this is just kind of a glimpse. Some of you know that before I started doing leather full time, I worked at a camera bag company called Tamrac and Guru Gear. And so I went to a lot of photography trade shows. I worked with a lot of pros, went to a lot of workshops, and toured around with some of those guys. I just loved it. I love that world. And it's interesting because there's not that many leather specific products. Well, there's a lot of like makers like us making their own little unique takes on camera bags and things like that. So I don't want to take away from that. But as far as big names in the camera bag world go, there's only one that I can think of that's doing it in leather, and that's Ona. And they just, they do it differently. I think theirs are manufactured in the Dominican, and they use some kind of chrome tan leather. But I would really love to fill the gap where there isn't any vegetable tan, heavy duty, saddle type feeling leather bags, specifically for photography. And I've been talking about this forever. I think there are a few people that have been waiting for it for a long time, and they're like, come on already. Because I'm always talking about it. We even came up with a sample a while ago with our manufacturer, and we ended up deciding to put our focus into the field bag for a while. Since it was a bag, we had like a waiting list of 200 people for that bag, so we finally just decided to produce that, get it out there, and then we'll start working on the camera bag. Right now is right about when I'm able to start putting my focus on the camera stuff now. So I would love to kind of fill the gap where there's maybe a little bit of a hole in the photo industry for heavy duty leather goods, at a reasonable price. And that's where I want to be. Also, that's kind of where my other passion is. I really love photography and video work. You might not know that from my channel. It's so funny. We've actually had a lot of comments about it, but I've never put any effort into our videos for our YouTube channel. I always just threw up my iPhone. I don't even think it was shooting in 1080, which is really weird. I'm not sure why that would be the case, but I used to, I was just throwing up my phone on a little tripod and trying to happen to grab footage while I'm working without interrupting the work too much. And so I've been looking back on our videos on our channel. I'm like, man, these are so bad, really bad quality, bad lighting, bad audio. So I'm changing that. We're making a turning point there, and I really want to start producing better quality video. We have the equipment. We have a Sony A7 III Mark III with, shoots in 4K and 120 frames per second. I mean, it's got all the fancy features and full frame sensor and just a beautiful camera. Also, iPhones do amazing work. They shoot in 4K, and I've got some little Moment lenses that go along with it. I don't know if you've seen these before. You should go check out Moment. But anyway, 18 millimeter lens that hooks onto my iPhone. I know this isn't what you guys are here for, but I just want to show you this. It's pretty cool. But I've got a lot of different equipment, some better audio equipment. So hopefully our video work will start. Anyway, I'm going to be putting more focus on doing better videos, better lighting, audio, all that kind of stuff. So that's my other passion. So I figure if I can, bring both of those together, and it's funny because I've been carrying some, the company I work for, Tamarack, I've been carrying their camera bag for a while. And, the question I always get whenever I go anywhere is like, well, why aren't you carrying a leather bag? And I don't have a good answer. I really want to get our leather camera bag situation dialed in. I want to be selling it. I want to be showing up at, photography workshops with some of my favorite photographers and all that kind of stuff. I really want to meld those two worlds together. So we'll be there. Okay, I'm missing a lot of questions. I love your channel. Thank you, Rolando. Hey, what products are you looking to produce? Oh, that's the one I just answered. Okay, cool. Yeah, you are good at belts, so I think you'd be good at making camera straps. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like your channel and your products. I would like to know how I can contact you. Do you ship to GCC countries? Like I said before, as far as I'm concerned, we ship anywhere. I haven't run into a situation where we can't ship. We just ship with, we ship USPS domestically, and we started to use DHL and FedEx for the overseas stuff because we were getting a lot of packages lost in the mail, and it was really frustrating. So I think here, how can I contact? Oh, you can email me at parker@stockandbarrelco.com. I'm sure that email is somewhere around here. Maybe I'll put it in the description here when this is over. Parker@stockandbarrelco.com. You can send me an email there. Let's see here. Could you touch on ordering leather sides, bridle versus skirting versus strap versus tooling? That's a good question. Um, yeah. Is there something specific you want to know about it? As far as it sounds like you're wondering how to order, or I'll just give a brief description of what I know about those different skins. We've got bridle, which is always a little bit more expensive, but you just get like a really luxury looking finish. It's just beautiful. Skirting is a little bit, how do I put it? It's a little bit more rustic, a little bit more rough around the edges. It can be really tough to cut through. It's really, really tough stuff, where some of the bridles and harnesses are a little bit, well, maybe not bridle, but harness leather usually has a lot more wax and oil in it, so it just kind of slices through like butter. Skirting and tooling are a little bit more dry and might need some conditioning over time. Gosh, I don't know. What else do I need to hit there? Bridle versus skirting versus strap versus tooling. Yeah, I don't know. I just, what I always do is I ask for samples from Wickett and Craig or whoever you're ordering from, and I'll like cut up the samples and stitch through some of them just to kind of get a feel for how they are and see what I like. It really depends on what project you're working on. If it's going to be something that's outdoors a lot, I don't know. If you're looking for something a little less expensive, you might want to go for something like strap or tooling over bridle. But maybe there's a specific color that you're looking for that only bridle is offered in. So it's kind of hard to recommend one over the other without knowing what product or what project you're working on. But yeah, you could definitely reach out to Kylie from Wickett and Craig. She's my rep, and she just answers all my questions anytime I have questions about that stuff. She'll send you samples so you can touch them and feel them and sniff them. All right, where do you get your leather from? Good question. I have a few favorite places. You guys probably get sick of hearing me talk about it, but I always love and recommend Wickett and Craig just because they have always worked really well with little guys like us. They don't have any minimum orders. If you don't know what that means, basically you don't have to be. So some of these bigger tanneries will require that you order a certain square footage of leather, 1,000 square feet of leather in order to place an order. And Wickett and Craig will let you order one hide at a time, which is just amazing. And then they'll also split it down for you, whatever weight you want, which is great for us because, we're making straps and belts and, things you want to use something a little thicker, like 9 to 10 ounce. And then it's really nice to be able to get the same exact hide, same finish, but in a lighter weight, something 3 to 4 ounce. So I'll order a few different hides in the different weights. And not everybody has a big Fortuna or whatever brand leather splitter. We don't. I would love one, but I've just never needed to. I think because Wickett and Craig makes it so easy for us to order whatever weight we need. So yeah, Wickett and Craig's a big one. Another favorite is District Leather Supply because they'll sell you little sample pieces of leather that's normally really hard to get a hold of and pretty expensive. And so that lets you test out like 1 or 2 wallets worth, 1 or 2, I should say, projects. Not everyone makes wallets, I realize that, but 1 or 2 projects worth of leather, and then try out something different. So you don't have to be stuck to like 26 feet, 20 feet. I'm having talking problems today. 26 square feet of leather. You're not limited to buying that. And then, if you're just in it for the hobby, it could take a long time to get through 24, 26 square feet of leather. So District Leather Supply makes that really easy. Also, Rocky Mountain Leather, they're a new favorite of mine. They have a lot of like exotic type hides, stuff that I'm really not very familiar with, but they're local to me here in Utah. And I went and ate lunch with the owner, and he's just a super cool guy. His name's Aaron Barker, just a really nice guy, top drawer, you might say. But he's where I like to go for tools and edge paint, and man, I don't know. He's just got like all those little things that a leather shop needs, but also a good place for leather if you want kind of like the unique exotic stuff. Hide House is another good one. Hidehouse.com. That's where I get like a lot of our oil tan stuff, the softer tempered, oily kind of oil tan stuff. Yeah, I really like it. They have a few different hides that I like to get from them. Also, they have a lot of, you can buy like Herman Oak and Wicked and Craig and stuff through them because they're a distributor basically. The oil tan stuff that I get from them, you should know, isn't tan here in the U.S. It's tanned overseas. I don't even know where it's tanned, but it's a good way to pick up some like really affordable, beautiful looking hides. So, okay, let's see here. Haha, I like goods when people have a passion for it. You can definitely tell with the quality of goods. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. In fact, I've had a lot of people approach me. Someone actually came here to our shop, and we talked for a little bit, and it definitely got me thinking because a lot of times we think, okay, well, I can make things with leather, so now I'm kind of obligated to make anything that you can make with leather. Dog leashes, wallets, bags. I mean, you just go down the list of everything that that can be made with leather, you feel like you should be making. And I kind of disagree with that notion. I think that it's important to stick to one or two really tight niche products, somewhere that you can like hone in all of your focus and effort and kind of become an expert at. And then, and if you're in like kind of a tight niche world, like an example I've used in the past is the Quick Draw Holsters guys. I know there's a couple guys who really specialize in the period correct, accurate, quick draw holsters, and they go to the competitions. They know everybody there. It's a really small little niche community, but they kind of own it. If anyone needs a holster, they go to that person because they know him personally, him or her. And I just think that's a really good way to go. Another example, I was talking to a guy, he's a subscriber here actually. His name's Matt, and he was talking about, he was a conductor for I think it was the Union Pacific Railroad, and he said that one of the engineers' wives would make these little what did he call them? Something bags. Well, anyway, a bag that you basically just put everything into. A grip bag, I think is what he called it. I don't know. But you basically just put everything into it. And he said that there weren't any like specific ones you would buy. Everyone kind of had different ones. And this engineer's wife had started making one out of leather and canvas, and it became really popular with all the other engineers. They all wanted the same one. That's kind of an area where you can find like a need for something and then just fill it and do it well and become an expert at it and get to know everyone within that little world, and you're home free. If you're just going to try and make one of everything that you possibly could out of leather, it's going to be really hard to zero in on something that really works, and you'll never really become an expert at one thing. So that's kind of the crossroads we've been at lately. I love the work we do. I'm making wallets and bags, but they're a very general thing. It's something that everybody could potentially want, or maybe potentially no one would want them, and that kind of poses a problem. So the photography world is something that I know well, and I know people within it, and so it would be a really good place for us to be, and that's kind of where we're headed. But what was the question? I can't even remember. Where did I go with that? That's why I brought it up, because the photography stuff is something I have a passion for. So it's something that I would want to spend a lot of time in and really immerse myself into that world. So for instance, if you decide you want to make dog leashes, but you're not really a dog person, it's going to be really hard to grasp onto that, that product and make it well and get to know the issues that come with it and the problems and the things you need to fix. And if you don't personally have a dog that you're taking on a walk on a daily basis with your own collars and leashes, then it just doesn't make sense to be in that arena. So I agree that you should be making products that you're really passionate about. Thanks for that question. That's awesome. The qualities of each. The qualities. Oh, good. Sounds like I answered his question. Okay. Well, yeah, it's really hard to speak on the quality of each type of leather because I would probably argue that they're all the same quality. Quality kind of comes from the tannery that you're getting it from. And like, let's just say, like, you can order all those types of veg tan hides from Wicked and Craig. I would argue they're all going to be of the same quality, but they all have a different purpose. I guess is how you'd kind of narrow it down. So bridal is definitely for more like luxury type products. It has a really smooth top surface, just really clean, and then skirting and some of the other stuff's going to have a little bit more like flaws and but that's kind of good. It just depends on what you use it for. So okay, I guess I don't need to spend time on that because I guess we got that one covered. Greetings and congrats from Mexico. Great blog. I'm a beginner in the leather art. Well, awesome. Thank you and welcome. Glad you're here. Stick with it. Do you have a thickness guide for products? No, I don't. But I think that would be good. I'm assuming what you mean is like if you're going to make a wallet, you should be using 3 to 4 ounce. If you're going to use a belt, you should be using sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. Should be using 9 to 10 ounce or something. No, I don't have a guide. And the reason for that is because everybody makes products so differently. So, like for instance, these straps, these are pretty heavy duty feeling. This camera strap I made. Let me see if I can get don't pay attention to the color of the leather. I was using some scrap tooling. So some of it is a little bit more suntan than the others, but I was mostly just testing the lengths and making sure it all fits. I got to put a button stud right here. It's not actually attached yet, but yeah, so just for instance, this is pretty bulky and heavy duty, but it's actually made with 2 pieces of 3 to 4 ounce leather stitched together. So it's kind of hard to put a guide on it because I could make this exact same strap with 7 to 8 ounce leather, single layered, and it would do the same job. So, but I would agree that would be helpful because I remember when I first started, I have to keep taking myself back to when I first walked into a Tandy Leather for the first time, had never messed with leather in my life, and I like dove into their scraps bin and I found this piece of upholstery leather. I loved the color of it, but I didn't even take any thought as to like, will this be a good temper or thickness? And I brought it home and I tried making a little phone case out of it, and it was just ridiculous because it was like upholstery leather. It was really thin and it didn't serve the right purpose. And and I forget that like these kinds of things, like until you start working with it and really getting used to, how things feel and work, then it's really hard to know when you walk into Tandy for the first time, going to buy your first tools and everything. So yeah, so that probably would be helpful, and I'll see if I can kind of sum that up, and maybe we'll do a video about it, and I'll put together like a PDF guide or something. I think that'd be pretty helpful. I love the 52 wallet. I'm starting with wallets and then moving to handbags. Awesome. Well, good luck. Is leathercraft your full-time job? Yeah, it sure is. I have been doing Stock and Barrel for the last 5 years, but it didn't become full-time until January of 2016. I actually got laid off from the company I was telling you about before, working with camera bags, and it was tough. I had to make a really tough decision. Whit, bless her soul, was very supportive, and we had a mortgage, we had a brand new baby, and I don't know what possessed me to do it, but we decided to jump all into Stock and Barrel and make it, our sole primary income, and it wasn't nearly where it needed to be in order for that to happen, but it grew fast, and thanks to a lot of help from a lot of people, we were able to make it happen, and now we're doing everything we need to do, covering bills. We're living good. We're very lucky, very blessed. So we're doing it full time. Definitely doesn't come without some sacrifice, though. There were definitely some hard times, and I'm really surprised by Whit, because for me it was just kind of, I wouldn't say an obvious choice, but it was probably a lot easier for me to make the decision to want to do this full time than it was for Wit, you know. And she was just a champion. She's just like, let's do it, let's just make it happen, and we'll both work. And she's been all over the shipping and fulfilling and just helping with so much stuff. So now we have the beautiful situation. I get to be at home. The door's shut right now since I'm doing this, but normally my kids are running in and out, and I get to be working from home. We got the new workshop outside. By the way, if any of you are new here, this is back here. That's a temporary situation. We built a workshop out on the river out here, and I'll do another live stream, maybe do it from my phone next time, and we'll go check it out. It's almost done. It's really close. But yeah, it's a dream. I'm doing what I love, doing it from home. I get to work with my family, my kids. Ever since we decided to outsource our production to Waterbury out in Connecticut, they've helped tremendously. But now I get to play with leather more at a recreational level. I'm testing new products. I get to play around with it and have fun with it, and it's not a chore, because there was a time where I was sewing wallets from 5 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. and I didn't see my kids, and it was really hard on Wit, I know, because I was never home. This was when we had a workshop out of the house, but yeah, it was tough, and we made sacrifices, but we're so lucky. It's just a great thing. So let me get back to some of the questions here. I think Trump is a Jesus. Trump equals Jesus. Support Trump, bro. He's our president and last savior. Okay. Yeah, I don't really like to take political stances here. I think Trump is really good when he does good things. I think he does some stupid things, but in general, I'm a conservative guy, and I think, like, in general, Trump's done a great job with a lot of stuff. But and I'm not going to go there. I'd probably lose half my people saying something as simple as that. I always mention this, but it was really funny. It was like the first time I had ever posted something about any of my firearms, but I posted a picture of a Colt 1911 that I had, and I think I just said something about being grateful for the freedom to bear arms and protect myself and protect my family, something like that. And I lost like 700 followers from that one post. Oh man, it's hilarious. Okay, so let me get back to some of the questions. Favorite sewing machines. I can only speak to the ones that I've personally dealt with, because I think there are a lot of good ones out there that I haven't even touched. And I don't want to give you the notion that I'm some sewing machine expert, because I'm really not. I'm fairly new to the sewing world. I've talked about this before. We ran a Kickstarter. Prices were too high right out of the gate. We weren't getting any pledges. And so I ran a survey. I said, would you rather have your wallet hand-stitched for $120 or machine-stitched for $58? It was unanimous. I talked about this in an interview we just did on Reddit, but so as soon as we got the results from that survey, I was like, done. I'm going to buy a sewing machine. I'm going to learn everything I can in a really short amount of time. I had about a month to learn how to sew, and not just learn how to do it, but I had to do it well and make it look really good. And I also had this little aspect that I had to make the stitching look pretty similar to the way our hand stitching looked, because all of the imagery and everything had already been, all the pictures had already been taken hand stitched. And so I knew that there would be some people who didn't catch the transition, even though we were sending emails out about it. I just didn't want anyone to be really upset. So that's why I went out and bought a Cowboy 3200 harness stitcher, which actually served its purpose really well, because we were using 207 nylon thread, which is really thick, and some big heavy stitches going through the wallet, and it definitely served its purpose for the time. As time kind of went on, I realized I preferred a smaller, more subtle stitch. I really like the stitch to kind of blend in with the leather, because I want the leather to really speak. I want that to be what stands out in the product, not so much the stitching. So now I use a Juki 1508. and I love it. It's awesome. But like I said, I think there's a lot of other ones that would do just as well. A lot of console machines. I've done a video about this, but just as long as it has a reducer on it, so you can really slow it down, a reducer paired with the servo motor, um, and as long as it's got enough clearance to sew the thickness you need, I mean, you really can't go wrong. All these industrial machines, new and old, are very similar, and you just have to pick one up and try it. And you might find something about a specific machine that you don't like, and you'll go find a different one. And that's essentially how I ended up owning, I don't know, 10 different machines at this point. It's only been a couple years since I started sewing. So, I don't have any like really specific things that I like or dislike about each machine. You find little things that are more comfortable. Like for instance, the Cowboy 3200 is a cylinder arm. And then I bought a CB 341, which is kind of a smaller machine, but it was still a cylinder arm. And after buying this used console it was a Juki that I really liked, but it was more of a tailoring machine, didn't really work for leather. But I loved the flatbed on it, and I was like, man, I got to get one of the flatbed. And that's when I found this Juki 1508. It's heavy duty, built for thicker leather, but it's got a flatbed, and it just works. It's just a lot more comfortable, I think. When you're back in the day when I was sewing, like, I don't know, I was probably doing about 20 wallets a day, and it really helped having a flatbed. It was more comfortable. It's just a good machine. It's a great machine. Hallelujah. Could have lost Hans Holtz there. I love watching your YouTube channel. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge. Very generous of you. Any suggestions with how to grow on IG? Yes, that's a great question. In fact, I would love it if some of the videos I do in the future were kind of geared more around building a brand and a business, because I really love that stuff. I love the leather stuff too, obviously. I mean, it's one of my passions, obviously. But I don't know. I get the feeling that there are just so many videos out there about specific leathercraft stuff. We'll just have to mix it up. That's really what it comes down to. I obviously want to keep producing leather tutorials because that stuff's really fun. But I love talking about building a brand and building an image and messaging and social media side of it, building your website. That kind of stuff is really fun for me too. So okay, so tips on Instagram. It kind of depends on what your level of understanding is with Instagram, because I'll talk to some people who have zero, knowledge of what it is and what you do with it. But in general, I would say it's important to be active on it, without being a drone. You don't want to like completely separate yourself from the world. But if you're within some kind of niche, you want your name to be popping up frequently. You want to be commenting a lot. So it's a social media platform, so you need to be social. You need to be reaching out, giving compliments, asking questions. That kind of stuff is really important. The more your name's going to be popping up, the more it'll be seen, and the more you'll kind of become a staple in your little niche. So if you're going to do that, though, you have to make sure you are frequently posting consistent content. So I've seen a lot of people who are really active on IG as far as commenting and liking and things like that, but they don't post much, and then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because people want to come to your feed and see that you're putting out good content and engaging stuff with good questions, and just kind of keep the wheels turning. So so I would say post good imagery. Even iPhones have amazing cameras on them. Make sure you have good lighting. I'm actually going to do a video about this, about how to present your leather products in a good way, so that it looks good. If you're in a dim room with yellow lighting, and it's just, I've seen that a lot. And then you put too much filters on it, and it's vignetted, and it'll just look terrible. It's a horrible way to present your product. You want natural, clean light. You want it simple. You don't want a lot of clutter in the background. You want to make sure that it's just a beautiful image that your eyes will focus and really focus on the leather and not anything else. And so there's a lot to that. I'm going to do a video about that. I think that'll be a good one. But then there's kind of this list of categories that you can kind of go down when you're planning content. So there's so much interesting content you can get as a leather maker. There's the process stuff. There's sewing, stitching, cutting, stamping, tooling. There's just everything. You can include all of that, and people want to see you. They want to see the details of the leather. They want to see your hands working. They want to see the way the leather cuts. There's all that kind of stuff. You're not just limited to only posting a picture of your finished product, and that you should be doing as well. And I would say you just got to keep a healthy balance with it. One thing that I notice a lot of people don't do is pay attention to the way their overall feed looks. When you go to someone's profile and you do a quick scan, you want to be able to see right off the bat. You want to be able to see what kind of products they produce, who's behind the products being made. And so if you go to our Instagram right now, I hope this is the case. You should be able to see a pretty good range of products. And yeah, so one thing I'm probably missing out is a lot of like process stuff. Oh boy, the colors are not good because we're dealing with the HD or the FaceTime cam. But yeah, so just as an example, you got products, you got me, you got Wit. Down here you got some what happened? Well, you've got some like process stuff of me beveling an edge, just things like that. So it'd be really good to kind of come up with a list, and maybe this is something I'll do and put out there, but come up with a list of different content you can get so that when you're trying to think of a post you can do every day, you have this list you can look at. Okay, I can do process, I could do a finished product that I have, I could do a picture of my tools, picture of my workshop. It really helps to have some direction and some vision when you're trying to come up with content for that kind of stuff. So that's pretty helpful. And then also something that a lot of people don't do, and maybe some people think it's kind of tacky, but it's helped us a lot, is using relevant hashtags, because that's how you get your image seen by people who don't follow you. It puts your product or your picture in a feed that is separate from your own, followers, if that makes sense. So people forget about that. So I can post a picture and hashtag vegetable tan leather, and then everybody or somebody who loves vegetable tan leather products is just going through the vegetable tan hashtag feed and looking at all the pictures in there. Hopefully yours will be right there showing up, and that's how you're going to get outsider views on your content. So I don't know, you'll hear a lot of people say hashtags are dumb. Hashtags, it's funny, they used to be kind of perceived as something that was just like a funny thing, or it's like, hashtag first world problems or whatever, and that's great, but really hashtags are a way for you to connect to the world that you want to connect with. I've seen like denim guys get really into it, the selvage denim, raw denim hashtags, fades, all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden this community develops out of these hashtag feeds. So you want to be active in that. You want to, when you're posting, and keep them relevant. I think something that hurts and actually ends up looking tacky, and this is why it gets a bad rap, is just when somebody copy and pastes 100 hashtags, and most of them don't even apply to the picture that's in it. So just pick a few hashtags that are relevant, that will help people find your content and use them, and it's going to help you a lot. And then also collaborating, working with people who have good followings, strong followings, do giveaways, contribute product. We send product to influencers, which helps a ton. We try and stick with anyone around like the 5,000 to 100,000 follower range, and we'll send them product, and they'll post pictures and talk about it. The more your name and your product is being seen in other people's feeds, the better it is for you. So it's a really good way to kind of build your brand and pick in specific influencers, not just anybody, but pick people who really fit the mold of the brand that you're trying to build. Okay, I'm talking too long with each question. I got to get to the rest of them. I don't know, grow IG. I hope that helped with the Instagram thing. If you have specific questions, let me know. But I'll probably do a video about that one too. Very cool. I'm glad it worked out. Sounds like you have a good woman behind you. You've helped me quite a bit starting out. Glad to hear that. Thank you. That's awesome. Anthony, will you be posting this live cast for those of us who missed the first part? Yeah, I'll post this one. What was the first thing you made out of leather you were truly proud of? Oh man, that's a good question. It's so funny because we go through this like range of emotions. I usually have a lot of pride in my product as soon as I finish, but it doesn't take very long for me to already be thinking about the way I'm going to do it next and how I'm going to change it and what I'm going to make better. And that's just been a process that has happened for the last 5 years. I make something, I'm like, right at first, I'm like, yes, I did this. This is great. Put it out there for the world. And then almost immediately I will end up taking it down or, putting something new out to replace it. And I would have to say, I mean, it's sad to say that it took this long for me to become proud of my work. So I don't know if that's the right terminology, but our best sellers right now are the number 52 vertical wallet and the number 56 field bag, partly because it's our only bag. So, I can say it's our best seller. It's our best selling bag because it's the only bag we have up right now. But the reason that's our only bag is because I put a lot of time and energy into making that bag what it is. And we used to have a whole just pages of different bags. I used to just make one up, get a picture of it, post it, on the website, and then just kind of wait for people to come. And if they didn't come, I'd take it down months later and be like, well, that one didn't work. And then whatever one did work, I would kind of refine. But that's kind of a bad way to do it. This way we're taking it now is a lot more purposeful. I'm putting a lot more thought and intent into each product and especially into the launch to make sure that each product is something that's really going to work out well for us, and it's something that I'm really proud of and that I would personally love to carry. For instance, our bags now have laptop dividers, zippers. They're made out of a little bit thinner leather so that it's lighter and more practical, because some of the first bags I ever made I did out of like 13-ounce harness hot dip leather. I don't know why I did that, but I just loved how bulky and heavy duty. I really wanted that saddle feel, but in the end, it was too heavy of a bag, and it was too inconvenient. I mean, the bag weighed like 10 pounds without even putting anything in it. So it just wasn't practical. It kind of beat your stuff up. I'd put my laptop in it, and it would just rattle around in there. So in the end, I've really been focusing on things that make our products practical and useful, but also just beautiful and timeless. And so I would say that the number 56 field bag is the first bag I've been really proud of. And that kind of shows, or that's kind of evident by the fact that we've bought dies for it, and it's now being manufactured with our partner in Connecticut. So if it's a product that I'm not really proud of and excited about, I'm not going to spend money on the expensive dies to get it made, because you really commit. When you buy dies, you go, okay, this is a bag we're going to make for a while because they're expensive. So anyway, the field bag and then probably the vertical wallet. It's not like, I wouldn't say that's like an original design of mine. I mean, it's just kind of a basic wallet, and I've seen it done by a couple other people. So I hope, I don't know. I don't really like to coin that one as like, this is, my original work. This is like the epitome of my work. I would probably say that more in a bag like the number 64 Wesley bag. I'm actually really proud of this bag, and we'll be producing this one soon as well. But this one just reeks of my taste and my flavor and, my style of leather work. And so I'm really excited to produce this one. It's going to be more functional, usable. But I have to say, it's kind of sad that it's taken me that long to become like really proud of my work, but we're there now, and I'm really happy about it. So, gosh, these answers are long. I'm sorry. I'm a real chatty Cathy today. Will you be posting? Okay, I got to catch up to where I left off. What was the first thing you made? Okay, you mentioned in one of your videos that you laser cut your pieces, but do you have any tips for us that are stuck using a razor on how to get good clean edge cuts. In Lane, first of all, we don't more. I do for samples, like if I'm trying to test a pattern, I'll have it laser cut back just so I can test it. It's a lot quicker. I always design our patterns on Adobe Illustrator first, so it's literally just an email away. I send it to my laser guy in Salt Lake. He has some of my leather, and he'll just cut it, send it to me, and in a day, I have, you know, all these different test patterns out and see what works best. So I still have it laser cut for that case, but for production, we use clicker die and a clicker press, and I very rarely hand cut things. And I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not an expert at cutting. I'm just not. I know some guys are really, really good at it. I'm thinking about like Richard Salazar. I always forget his name. Who's the guy behind Monk Made? He's one of my favorite makers. Just the most beautiful stuff. And you know, he's still, his primary production is still done just by him, you know, just cutting it out by hand and hand burnishing. He's very meticulous and just very precise with every little cut, and his back or his wallets always look really consistent and beautiful. So that's a tricky thing. Don't be too hard on yourself if your cuts aren't coming out perfect, because mine rarely do. I guess since I have these sitting here in front of me, I cut these out by hand. This had kind of a long rounded edge because I wanted it to kind of contour your neck when you're holding this strap. But anyway, these are all hand cut, but once I glued them together, I hit the sander and spent some good time sanding it to get it to match up and everything before I burnished everything. So I really don't have a lot of good advice as far as cutting goes. I would say use lots of small little cuts depending on what you're cutting. But I've seen and I found myself that on some tight round corners you can use a small blade. I'm just going to give you this little recommendation. When I'm making little precise cuts, I like my Tina blade. You can get this on Rocky Mountain Leather Supply, and in fact that's the only place you can get it that I'm aware of. I don't even know where he sources it from because I haven't been able to find him anywhere else. But yeah, just make lots of tiny little cuts, and then as you burnish and kind of finish up the edge, the small little jagged corners are going to go away if you did it small enough and precise enough. So I hope that helps. For just big cuts when I'm, oh man, that was really dumb. I just poked this. Oh, by the way, I would probably suggest if you buy a Tina blade, you can get the option to have the awl on the end. And I thought that would be really handy, but I don't really love it. If anything, it just injures me more than anything else. Like I just went to set this down on the table, and as I set it down, that awl kind of went into my hand right here. And gosh, I don't know how many times I've done that, but it's really sharp. And I prefer a scratch awl like this because I just keep it in my hand. I can draw, make my marks, and I don't know. I don't think I ever need to be doing this that often. So had to show a real world example of that, slicing my hand up. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, just to wrap up that last question, don't be too hard on yourself. If you can't get perfect, precise cuts, come at it with a little sandpaper, some canvas, smooth it out, but don't be surprised if you're not going to be perfect, because it's hard. It's really hard. I'm definitely not an expert in that. In fact, I talked to the guy from Little King Goods in one of his live streams. I'm like, dude, how do you get so precise with your cuts? And he's like, it's just because I'm a perfectionist. I do it over and over until I get it right. And unfortunately, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't know if I should say unfortunately. I just think there's different ways of doing things. I love our products to end up really nice and beautiful, but I'm not the type of person that will do one little step over and over and over and over until it's right. So figure out what kind of maker you are and embrace it and just move on. That's my advice. Okay. Totally get it. I'll email you my IG. I'm actually a photographer starting my small bag business. Thank you. That's awesome. So you're going to have a really easy time getting good content. People who are already photographers, like that's kind of where I wasn't a photographer when I started Stock and Barrel, but over the years I've really grown to love photography, and all the workshops I got to go to and trade shows and talking with the pros, and I just learned a lot, and it really just sunk in deep, and I love it. So it definitely helps being a one-man show. I know a lot of people have to outsource a lot of the creative stuff that they do, because they make their product, but they don't know how to design or take video and photography. So it really helps when it all comes into one. Hi.
Hi.
My crew's here.
I'm starving.
What, is it lunchtime? Oh yeah. Where are you going? Lunch? Okay. I'm getting the cue. I gotta sign off. Did he just wake up?
Yeah.
Here's the boy. Future leather worker of America. You got the whole crew. Say hi to the world. You have 8,000 people watching. No, just kidding. 17. But if all of our subscribers see it, then 15,000. So, okay. What's the next question? Hi, I'm from PA. I'm starting up a Bible binding business and wondering how you grew your customers. It's a good question. It's all social media for us. That's all we did. I don't have. I'll be done in a minute.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.
So we didn't have a sales force. I didn't hire sales reps. You really have to figure out what kind of business you want to be, because I was talking to somebody recently who doesn't like social media, and he was like, what can I do if I'm not a social media guy? Well, I know that there are a lot of other strategies that you can do. That doesn't need to be said. But I think that even if you are moving really heavy into like retail and trade shows and those kind of sales, you should still have a good social media presence. So if you don't like it, I think you need to embrace it. I'm not specifically talking to you, Jess. But I think that you have to have social media in this day and age. Every good business in the world. Okay, I can't say that. That's too broad. But it's just crucial. It's the best way to build community. I'm able to build relationships with our followers, personal relationships. I know for a fact, just because of emails that I've gotten back, that after people get to know us personally, it helps them make their purchasing decisions. So it's just crucial. But again, like I was saying before, if you got on later, I was talking about Instagram. And if you're using relevant hashtags, you're going to be seen by people who aren't following you. That's the best way to do it. Obviously, if you have some knowledge in the PPC world, like Facebook ads and Instagram ads, Google AdWords, things like that, you can get really good and refined at finding your new audience. But not everyone can do that, and I've kind of been shying away from that as well, because I love it to be organic. We'll post or we'll promote some posts every now and then, but we don't run Facebook campaigns. We do a little bit of retargeting, but I just love the organic side of it. Like connecting with all of you on YouTube and Instagram is actually what brings our sales. So social media is the best way to find new customers. There are like personal events you can go to. We went to this one event years ago. It's called the Adventure Gear Expo in Utah, and it was like one of the only things we've done like that. It was a consumer show, meaning it wasn't like a dealer show. It was open to the public. They could come in and buy it. And we met so many people there that turned into lifelong customers. And I wish there were more things like that. In fact, we need to sign up and go to that show again, because it was a really cool experience. But that's a good way to do it. But at the same time, sometimes I feel more motivated to just put my effort here on social media, because it's a lot less. It fits more into the category of working smarter and not harder. I can reach more people by sitting here in my basement than if I were to go set up some pop-up shop down at the busiest street in our town in Ogden. I can target specific people, people like you who love leather and leather goods, and it's just, I get the sense that I can work smarter and not harder by putting my focus here. So that's just my opinion of it. But yeah, get on social media, present yourself well, practice your photography skills, get good lighting, good audio when you're doing video. There's, the more you refine and tune that, the better your business is going to look under the eyes of social media. And it's going to go far. That's going to take you places. So, all right. I think I got to go. My family's out there waiting in the car. I could seriously do this all day. I love talking to you guys, and I love the questions. So let's do it again soon. I'll put up another post and leave some questions. I don't even know if I got to the other. Yeah, some people had left questions. Let me hurry and check. They're out there waiting, but I don't want to leave these guys hanging because I put up that post and said, leave your questions here, and then I didn't even get to them. That's pretty sad. Okay, hey, how's it going? I've been working on leather since 2015. I'm learning something new every time I work on a new project. I have a question. I feel like when it comes to construction, the assembly of my project is not smooth. Sometimes I have to go back and manipulate the pattern. Sometimes my leather is different. How can I guarantee that each time I make the same item, it's going to be the same? The best way to do that is to use dies, honestly. When we use our dies, every shape clicked out the exact same way every time. So every time you go to sew it, it's going to be in the same place. But at the same time, leather is just a natural product. And so sometimes the leather's softer in one area or lower grain, or which you probably shouldn't use anyway. If it's got like low grain, you should probably get rid of it. But leather's inconsistent, and so it's going to happen. I don't think you can avoid that, Brenna. That was Brenna Jones. But you can do little things to be more consistent like that, like using dies or like we used to laser cut, things like that. That can definitely help. I know there are expert guys out there who are just amazing at hand cutting, clean, precise cuts every time, but I'm not one of those. And so I really rely on die cuts and things like that. So that's my best advice. And then also just do it a ton. Just practice like you've never, just till you're dreaming leather and you taste leather when you eat. Just practice like there's nothing else that matters in the world. Okay, what would you recommend for beginner leather crafters? I'm going to do a video about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time because my family's waiting, but the first time I walked into a Tandy, I had no idea what to buy. I've said this before, and I really want to nail that. I think I might even like bring a camera into Tandy and just like walk through and say, get this, get that, get that. And hopefully we can kind of wrap that out. I think get some needle and thread, get a really good knife for cutting. You might need it, or really it depends on what product you're making. If you're doing belts, you might need like a strap end punch. Something like this is really helpful. One of these oblong hole punches, things like that is really helpful. But if you're not doing belts, you don't need that. So, but that's what's beautiful about leather is you can get into it with very little cost. And I think that's why it's become so popular. With woodworking, you have to buy big equipment, planers, and you don't have to, but the real serious woodworkers do. And with leather, you can get really far with very minimal equipment. So I'll do a video about that. I don't want to leave you hanging, Brenna. So come back to our channel, and I'm going to do a video about that. Tools to buy for a beginner leather crafter. And then I got another question of the same thing. What would you recommend for beginner leather crafters? And I got another one, Fat Sing Wong. I'm new to leather work. Just want to know how to store leather so that it'll not HV fungus or get moldy. I'm in Malaysia. The humidity and the weather can be very high. I'm really sorry. I have no input on this. I've never had to deal with that. We're not in a humid area. Maybe someone else who's from a more humid area could chime in on that because I'm sure there's a good way to do it. But maybe just have to be with, I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I have no help there. But I'm so glad you guys were all here. Thank you for jumping in and asking good questions. We'll do this again soon. And remember, even though you've subscribed, that doesn't even mean anything on YouTube anymore. Make sure you go hit that little bell up by the subscribe button. That way, every time we post a video, you'll be notified like that. And we're going to be doing some giveaways with our videos soon. So like the bags I was just showing you, the Wesley bags, I have a few like random bags sitting around here for samples. I'm going to start giving those away in our upcoming videos. And it's going to be like, you know, first whatever hour, how many hours, you know, leave a comment and we'll pick a winner. And so you want to know right off the bat. It'll be really useful to hit that little bell so that you can be notified as soon as the video goes up. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.